Kelly Bento is my friend from the Quantum Biology Collective, and she's a gorgeous soul. I love the way that Kelly is so fiercely protective of her family and shares the information on quantum health. So I wanted you to hear her journey to quantum health, how she ended up in the quantum biology world. And also, she recently just got back from a trip with Dr. Jack Cruz. So she shares a little bit about that experience. I hope you enjoy this episode as much as I enjoyed talking to Kelly Bento. All right. Well, I'm excited to talk to you, Kelly. I'm kind of gotten to know you on Instagram world, and I know we're quantum sisters. Yeah. So thanks for being here.
Thank you for having me.
Yeah.
It's Kelly squared.
I know, right? It's fun. Oh, I got to get my blue blockers on. We don't want to disappoint Dr. Cruz if he happens to get in on this one. So
Right.
you just spent time with Dr. Jack Cruz. So we have to talk about that and how that went and all of those things. You look fantastic. So that must mean that it was a good trip.
It was amazing. It was an absolutely amazing experience. Absolutely everything about it was extraordinary and challenging. It just, I went into it. It was just such an interesting thing that sort of unfolded. I actually wasn't going on the trip, and then started feeling like, oh, my husband and I were talking, and he had said to me, I was talking about the trip, and he had said, well, you don't really like cruises. There were sort of all these little things, and I said, yeah, but it's Jack Cruz.
Right. Yeah.
And then we talked more, and he said, you should go. You really should go. And I said, you're right, I should go. And then I tried to book, and it was full. Mm-hmm. And I thought, well, okay, that's the universe saying that this just wasn't for me. And I carried on. And then a few days later, happened to get a text from someone saying that they couldn't go, and did I want to take their place. And so literally every roadblock just effortlessly was lifted. And I thought, the universe is just sending me on this trip, and I must go. And I was really, really nervous, because I had only been on a 3-day cruise once about 25 years ago, and I did not like it.
Right. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I was uncomfortable being on the ship. Mm-hmm. For some reason, it made me really fearful. Like, what if this thing goes down? And I don't typically have fears like that. I'm not afraid of flying, and so I sort of started thinking about that, like, oh, I remember feeling like that. And then I also, in years past, had been prone to motion sickness, and
yeah.
So there were many things that I was thinking prior to this. I'm typically not really, super comfortable with, not with traveling alone.
Sure.
Or traveling without my family, my emotional support people.
Right. So, exactly. Yeah. Yeah.
So it was a lot, but I kept saying, like, there's a lesson here, and I'm really curious and excited to find out what that lesson is.
Right.
And so, I sort of went into it with an open heart, and was excited to see everything unfold. And of course, just super excited to spend time with Dr. Cruz, because to meet him, to be around him is it is an experience in and of itself.
Yeah, I can imagine. Yeah. So what brought you to quantum biology, quantum health? How did you end up in this quantum biology world?
years ago,
Yeah.
many years ago, when I started getting interested in health. And, Sarah Kleiner and I joke that, it starts with removing plastic, right? It starts with plastic.
Yeah.
And then you just spiral into wherever it will take you. And so that's where it started. My boys were little. My youngest, who is now about to turn 18, he was a baby.
Mine too.
Ah,
I think we have 2 boys about the same age. So I have one that's 20, he'll be 21 this summer, and then one that's about to turn 18.
yes, 21 and almost 18.
Yeah,
We're leading parallel lives here.
I know, and we're Kellys, and we're blonde, like, this is do 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 do. Yeah, okay.
Right, right.
Yeah. Yeah, so he was little when you
He was little, and I thought, let's, I started to take my family's health as my full responsibility,
well,
and dedicated a lot of time to research, reading, all of that we do as mothers. We do that,
yeah.
and I remember years ago, I think it was 2014, hearing Dr. Cruz on the Croxton podcast.
Hmm.
And I thought, he's really interesting. He's saying some different things. And then I later heard him on Ben Greenfield multiple times and Luke Story. And I really, really liked him. And then as years went on, and at that point, my boys being little, I did actually get them the UVEX blue blocking glasses, and so my kids have worn them nearly their entire lives since they were really, really
Oh,
small.
I wish. Mine make fun of me. I got everybody Viva Rays, and they were like, "Oh, absolutely not." Yeah. Oh, well.
Yeah,
But
yeah.
yeah, so you got yours early enough to
I did, and I'm really thankful that I did. That's not to say that it can't be done once they're a little bit older.
of course.
But I was very happy to have brought them up in this, with these principles,
Mhm.
thanks solely to Dr. Cruz, because at that time, he was the only person talking about that.
Mhm.
Um, so
Yeah.
it was a process, and then for a number of years, and then I went keto,
Yeah.
which was amazing. It was the first time in my entire life that I didn't have these afternoon crashes that I felt that I needed a nap.
Right.
My brain lit up. My body completely transformed into, something that I had never seen before. I mean, I'm petite. I've always been small.
Yeah.
But it was just shocking,
Mhm.
and
Mhm.
I felt really, really good. And I was working out at a really high level, and felt amazing for, a period of time. And then started researching when Logan was about to go into 8th grade, started researching some private schools for our boys, which kept me up very late at night. I had always really honored circadian rhythm, not
Yeah.
really understanding why, but always went to bed early, always woke up early.
Mhm.
Even as a child, as a teenager, that was me.
Mhm.
And started breaking my circadian rhythm,
Mm.
and crashed and burned.
Wow.
It happened pretty quickly. I was up, staying up until about 2 a.m. on my iPad, searching, reading, researching. And then I think within a matter of a very short time, maybe a few months, I went from 99 pounds to 140 pounds.
Wow. So
I
weight
mean,
went like everything changed. Okay.
everything,
Yeah.
everything. I lost a lot of hair.
Yep.
Everything
Brain,
changed.
the brain fog, uh,
Everything. I felt lousy. And I kept going to the doctor thinking something terrible just happened. Like, it must be my thyroid. Check my thyroid.
of course. Right.
And they just kept saying everything is fine. And, honestly, so being so thin, being 99 pounds was unhealthy. That was unhealthy. That was unsustainable. That was not due to lack of eating. I mean, my husband was like, I have never seen you eat like this ever. So it was just, being keto and all of that just initially worked really, really well. Then it didn't. And I was still eating the exact same way, exercising the exact same way, and just completely broke the system. And this went on for a while. And after, I just continued to get confirmation from the doctors that it wasn't my thyroid. It wasn't something that I could sort of quantify and say, oh, that's what did it. Something intuitively kept telling me to go back into Jack's work. I don't know what it was. And I'm thankful that I thought, something, let me go really, really deeply into his work. And that's what I did. And that's when I recognized what I had done.
Yeah. I love this story because we all have a process, and we have these things where something works really well for a while, and then we can get really confused because we're doing what we think is right. Nothing has changed. Like, what is happening? And I love that you had already found Jack and had
Right.
already and see, this is what happens. You get, something sort of, and then, but you kind of don't until you go deeper. And it's okay to be in a different place and then to figure out that you've got to go deeper somewhere where you've already been. Like,
Yes.
you
Yes.
know?
And I joked with Jack when I met him and a lot of his members down in Destin, Florida, a few years ago. And I happened to say that Jack is Rome and all roads lead to Jack.
Right.
And I thankfully found my way back on the right path, back into Jack's work, dove very, very deeply into every single thing that he put out, read his book multiple times. I was actually at the Vermont 2017 talk. I drove up to Vermont. I was at that talk, understood maybe 50% of what he was saying.
Right.
But
Right.
I thought I'm here, and I got to meet him. And, that corrected things. So
what actually did you do differently? Obviously, you fixed your nighttime routine and started making sure you were off your devices or whatever.
yes.
Yeah. So tell me what did you do?
So I just went back and really honored my circadian rhythm, paid very close attention, got back into bed early, got back up early. I have not missed a sunrise since.
Yay. I'm the same.
Not.
I will not miss a sunrise. I don't care where I can be half, dragging myself wherever, but yeah, I don't miss a sunrise either.
I don't miss. I am out there every day. Does not matter the temperature, does not matter the weather. I have the gear, and I'm out there. So
great. And you're in what area again? Remind me.
I'm in Massachusetts.
That's right. Cold.
We have a lot of really rough days here. Doesn't matter. I am out there. Last year, we actually made the commitment, as a family, to do a backyard renovation because we don't use any lawn chemicals whatsoever. The backyard was pretty crummy, pretty mucky.
Yeah.
So we decided we did a massive patio, created this wonderful outdoor living space. And my husband and I have become completely addicted to having morning fires with coffee instead of evening fires. Evening fires are still enjoyable, but morning fire with a coffee in the winter is phenomenal. So we spend hours upon hours out there. So it's great.
Yeah.
It's great.
So you early to bed, early to rise, and fixing your circadian rhythms. Did you change your diet at that point, or did you start doing what Jack said and just change when you're eating to align with circadian rhythms?
Yes. So I started honoring eating only when the sun was up. I was really, really focused on not so much the food, although at that time, because I was wondering, I was inflamed. Labs were showing that I was inflamed, which my C-reactive protein had never been elevated before, and
Right.
that had gone up, which concerned me.
Yeah.
So I did go carnivore for a period of time, and I found that to be helpful.
Yeah.
Although that was also during the winter as well. So I
So it
thought, okay,
matched. Right.
it aligned, let me do this. And very, very quickly, the weight came off.
Yeah, it's amazing. That's amazing.
Mhm.
Yeah, I ended up carnivore for 2 years. It was really helpful for me too, and then, of course, you start to go, "Okay, in the winter, that makes sense," but I live in Florida, sunny Florida in the United States, right? So, that's not a match for most of the
Right.
year, so I really wanted to align with my
Mhm.
environment. So, is that what you do now? Are you more eating seasonally? Or are you still eating mostly meat? How are you eating now?
So right now, as we certainly on the cruise, I did have some carbs because we were in a very high UV environment, and I thought this is fantastic. By this time of year, I do start to get rather tired
Yeah,
of meat and fat.
right.
And I do start to crave more vegetables, more green leafy vegetables. So we have a wonderful organic farm up the road, and
Mm,
when they have it, I eat it.
amazing.
When strawberries come into season, it's amazing. I think I eat my body weight in strawberries
Yeah.
when they come into season. So I have those. Our yard, amazingly enough, when we were clearing, our yard is full of wild berries, wild blueberries, and wild blackberries,
Nice.
thousands upon thousands upon thousands. So when those come into season, we eat them in abundance.
I love
So
that. I love
yeah,
it. That's great. Yes,
yeah.
so mostly just changing your light environment and getting back outside, and then
Mhm.
were you already wearing blue blockers when you were up till 2 a.m. during that
I
time?
wasn't. I wasn't. My kids were, which is funny, right? My kids were, but I wasn't. So that what I got very serious about that,
Right.
and I'm now
Mm,
insane. I'm insane about my light environment,
same.
at,
Yeah.
at home and also at work.
Yeah.
I don't. Thankfully, I don't have to compromise at work either. I have,
Mm,
an operatory that has a big bank of windows, so I get a lot of natural sunlight. I do not turn on the overhead lights. I do have one small lamp in the operatory that I use, and so I'm able to create a healthy environment when I'm not home. I'm able to be in a healthy environment as well.
I think that's important because there are probably people listening that say, "Oh, this is great," because you probably, you're at home, but you've got to
Mhm.
figure this out at work too. So tell me about how that works at work. Were you always, what kind of work is it that you do? And then how did you make sure you were being protective at work with your
So I'm
circadian?
Yeah, I'm a dental hygienist, so
Right.
I'm in the office 3 days a week.
Uh-huh.
Actually, it used to be that's rather new. Just this year, I started with an extra day, but typically, I always worked 2 days a week, so I had a lot of time at home. I was
Yeah.
thankful for that. I had a lot of time at home, able to create a terrific environment and get as much outdoor time as I wanted or needed. But at work, have been able, like I said, to create a safe space, and my patients love it.
I
They
bet they do.
they
So
love it. I have a
yeah.
filter on my screen, and they ask, and I have blue blockers in the office. And I also, interestingly enough, I wear dental loops, which are magnifying lenses with a little headlamp. And I believe it was Jack years ago had posted a video of how dangerous that was, because you're looking through, very, very high magnification, using a very bright, super powered, like 6,000 Kelvin LED, and
Yeah.
how damaging that was, and how they were realizing that dentists and dental professionals were presenting with macular degeneration. And so on that little light, interestingly enough, there is a little amber shield. So I just flip down the amber shield, and it's this, warm, sort of orange amber light.
Okay, that's a good
Right.
fix. Are
Right.
you doing a lot of earthing too? So are you, barefoot or skin? Because I know it's cold, so I don't know how much
Right.
of that in the winter you're doing. Or do you have like a grounding mat at home or at work or
I don't have a grounding mat at work or at home.
okay.
When I'm home, I am grounded. I am barefoot all the time. It does not matter the temperature. My feet, I'm like Carrie Bennett. I am standing in the snow,
Right, yeah.
and I'm used to it. I do a lot of cold therapy. We don't cover the pool all year. I smash through, ice this thick with, I take a kettlebell and I smash through the ice, and I go in the pool. So I'm very cold adapted. I live here in the Northeast, and that's what I have to do to sort of hack the environment.
Yeah.
And I
Mhm.
feel amazing. I feel amazing doing the cold therapy.
Yeah, cold therapy it's amazing for inflammation, reducing the inflammation. So, were you always doing that? Did you notice a big difference when you added that at some point?
I saw a wonderful increase in my T3 and my thyroid labs.
Oh, there you go.
Yeah, yeah, a terrific increase. Not that I was feeling badly, but sort of always, T3 always ran slightly low, but
Mhm.
I never medicated for it or anything. So
Mhm.
I saw a wonderful improvement in that just by doing CT. And I was actually telling everyone on the cruise about this. When I get in the water,
Yeah.
I actually feel that release. And I said to them, it's like a needle in a vein. I feel in my head this wonderful rush of, dopamine and norepinephrine just run through my entire body, and
Yeah.
it's wonderful. It's
Yeah.
wonderful.
Right. Well,
So,
and Sarah Kleiner and I've talked about that too, just the mental health. Just you wouldn't expect for cold therapy to be so helpful to your mental health unless you understood the science. So, how often are you doing that? And people are going to be wanting to know how long. How
mhm.
long are you doing it?
Well, the problem with me is I take good advice and I make it crazy,
Yeah.
which is what I do with everything.
Yeah.
So I found when I started doing it, of course, I took the mentality that some is good and more is better, and so I did a lot. I I am able to just mentally say, okay, I'm doing this, and fully commit, and I'm able to do it. I mean, I can get in my pool when it's 30 some odd degrees, 37 degrees, and I can stay in there for 20 minutes.
Wow. That's
Yeah, which I don't recommend anyone do that.
Mhm.
I've always been smart about it. I never get in my pool unless I have someone that has their eyes on me at all time.
Right.
So just for safety,
Safety. Yeah.
I just always make sure that someone is there and watching at all time. I So I found that I started feeling a little crummy when I did it every single day. When I did too much, it was very stressful to my
On your
system.
system. Yes, of course.
And when I dialed that back and thought, okay, instead of doing, no one needs to do CT for 20 minutes, especially, being a rather lean person.
Mhm.
and I dialed it back. And so now I'll do, 2 or 3 minutes and get in there and sort of, do some box breathing. And
Perfect.
I come out and I feel great. I will say an absolutely magical way to do CT is to do CT and then stand around a fire.
Yeah.
I
Mhm.
mean, between the cold and the infrared, warming up by a fire it's absolutely magic.
Yeah, I can imagine that. Yeah, I was just thinking I need to I usually will do infrared sauna and then
Mhm.
do cold therapy because I don't like cold therapy. I don't like to be cold, but I really ought to do it the other way around.
Right,
Do cold and then get in the
right.
Mhm.
Yeah,
Yeah, I can do that. I can do it.
right.
I just have to I'm the same. I'll take it. I don't take it to the extremes usually, but I once I've made up my mind, well that's it. Like I'm in and I'm
Right.
all in. So this cruise that you were on with Jack Cruise, what are the major takeaways that for you personally from this trip? Because you went by yourself and had an incredible experience. So
There there was science, of course.
yeah.
Anytime you're around Jack, there is science. A lot of it was focused. I was reading his most recent Patreon blog on the flight there, so which was very much about melanin and POMC. And so, I read that and got there, and he had just, the morning that I woke up, he had just released the most recent podcast, which I strongly, strongly recommend everyone listen to that podcast. It's a 3-hour podcast with the doctor out of
Right.
Australia.
Mhm.
Mind blowing, phenomenal, absolutely phenomenal. So everything that he talked about in that podcast, that was very much the topic of the conversations that we had throughout the week. So, yeah,
Mhm.
I mean, discussing melanin and POMC, I need to go really, really deeply into that because it's absolutely fascinating
Mhm.
information, and it's very, very deep level
Right.
science, which
Right.
is,
Yeah.
everything with Jack is deep level
Deep.
science. So I'm really excited, to dive deeply into all of that.
Right.
So
So what you're saying, Kelly, is we're never done. There's always more to learn and go deeper and yeah.
yeah, yeah, I think so. Ultimately we have to stay curious,
I
and
yeah,
I
luckily. Yes.
right. I did ask Jack if this recent information, which he has talked about in the past,
Mhm.
uh, it's just sort of resurfacing now due to his talking with Rick Rubin and Andrew Huberman, and they dove deeply into it. And so, so all of that information he has discussed in the past, it's just now, more focus on it. So I did ask him if anything that he is talking about right now is new information to him, and he said no, this is the information that I was bringing to light 15 years ago. It still remains important information. It's fascinating. It's absolutely fascinating when he talks about melanin and
Mhm.
the fact that melanocytes on the surface of your skin can actually migrate inward, and the melanin within your body and the melanin in your brain is the most important melanin. It was mind blowing. And when you when what what really interested me was, my mother died a year ago, and she
Mhm.
died the end of February. And I had told her when she entered into a healthcare facility to live there, I had said, every minute you spend outside will be a minute longer you'll live. Simple. and that woman took that advice and she spent every moment outside. She looked like a homeless person because she sat out front of the facility every single day. And my family laughed, and when she passed away, everyone was remarking, nurses, doctors, and my entire family, on how tan she was, how dark her skin was. And everyone joked that, oh, look, it's amazing. She really took your advice and she spent every minute outside. But it was the end of February. That wasn't sun. That wasn't, and it looked different to me. And I thought, I didn't say anything to anyone, but I thought I don't think that is from any
That's not
sort
a tan,
of,
like
that's
from
not a
the
tan.
sun. Yeah.
Right. So it was just so interesting that, Jack is talking about this now, and I've witnessed that happen in my mother, in her sickness, and towards the end of her life. I've witnessed that internal melanin coming to the surface, seeking light to try to survive. So
right.
It was really, really fascinating because I had just seen it happen.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. And I'm wondering if you're doing anything differently. Like, you just got back. So,
Right.
but are you going to change anything about your routine? Or is it all the same? You're just going deeper in your knowledge of why you're doing it.
Definitely excited to go deeper.
Okay.
To really go deeper. Honestly, I will say that going into it, I was so curious, like, what is the lesson? What sort of mind-blowing stuff will I learn? But we all concluded at the end of the trip that ultimately the lesson for all of us, in each of us in a very different way, and it was a small group, and the lesson for all of us was unconditional love.
Right. Ooh, I just got like chills and teary. I mean,
it was wonderful. It was wonderful to have experienced that with many different people. Like I said, each of us had to sort of go deeply into it, and but that's what it was. The lesson for all of us during that trip was unconditional love, and what does that look like to each of us and to our families.
Right. And I think people could just stay right there and ponder that. Understand, like, obviously we've been talking about the light and how important light is and being protective of your light environment, food, and also matching that. But more importantly, what is unconditional love? What does that look like in your life? How can you build that around yourself and your family? That,
Yes.
I believe, love is the medicine.
Yes.
So it is, and actually it's the only thing that's real. So that makes a lot of sense. I'm wondering if people listening to this are gonna be like, "What does that mean? Like, what am I supposed to do?" And I think, like you said, it's different for each one of us. You get to ponder that.
Yeah.
Do you
Yeah. So, as much as it was very, science based and evidence based, there was a very large sort of esoteric vibe to it,
Yeah.
which was great.
Well, and because Carrie and I just talked about this when I interviewed her, we're talking about cellular hydration, but we're also talking about love and the importance of water holding memory and the water inside of us, and just the importance of love in general. So I
Right.
was wondering, yeah, your thoughts about the soul or consciousness and what that has to do with all of this
Right.
kind of quantum stuff.
Yeah, it's interesting because I had said to Meredith, and I've said this to a few people, and some of the people on the cruise as well. Knowing what I know about quantum physics, quantum biology, And my mother passing away, that information gave me such a deeper understanding of her passing and a deeper acceptance of her passing. So
Mhm.
while this is all really cool, interesting science, I think just it goes much deeper than that. And I tried to explain this to my sister, and you know, and with my mother passing and saying that, we're all light beings. We emit light, we receive light, we communicate through light.
Mhm.
And I explained to my sister the way that I think about this, and this is simply me, and anyone could pick it apart and say, well, that's not really science. My acceptance and my belief of it is that my mother is not gone. Her light to light that I can't visualize, and understanding the double slit experiment in physics,
Mhm.
that light when it is observed changes its behavior.
Right. That's right.
So when we return to that light that is not visualized by the human eye, I believe that that is when you are able to be your truest self, because you're not influenced by anyone observing you.
Right.
And I said to my sister, I believe that that is when you are your truest self, your truest soul, and your freest self.
Right. Yeah, beautiful. Yeah, because February, that's not very long. That's 1 year
Mm-hmm.
since her passing. So I'm guessing that it's been an interesting year for you
A
of
very interesting year.
deeper levels of understanding and on a cellular level, understanding things that you can't even really explain in words.
Right. And
Mhm.
also understanding quantum entanglement
Right.
and knowing that a mother and a child, the cells intermingle, and that never leaves either one of you ever
Right.
for your lifetime. So there's great comfort in that. Like I take great comfort in that,
Yeah.
in knowing she's not gone. I simply can't visualize her, and that's okay.
Right.
You
Right.
know, um, so it's quantum biology, quantum health has given me many insights.
Yeah. Yeah, and help you wake up feeling ready to do the day and have more insights. So I love that. And as
Yeah.
a mother yourself with your 2 beautiful boys and your husband, like, how is this with the whole family? The more you learn, are they, just getting on board? Do they take some coaxing? What's happening?
They're wonderful, and that's where I think some people coming into this
Yeah.
um, may have difficulty, and that was actually a lot of the conversation on the trip as well, is how difficult it is for those who don't have that support at home.
Yes. Yeah.
um, my husband is phenomenal. He's fully on board. He trusts that I've done my homework, that I've sourced the right information to keep our family healthy. I am the steward. I dictate the health of the family, and I take that responsibility very, very seriously. And I tell my family I don't negotiate with terrorists. So
Right. Right. Right.
um, they know that that the things that I implement are important, and I'm doing it for a reason, and I've explained the reasons, and they understand the reasons, and everyone is on board. So with the blue blockers, we all have them, we all wear them. My husband actually loves them. He says he feels so good. It's so calming to
Mhm.
wear them at night, and to change out the light bulbs in the house, and to have the red light bulbs and the purple light bulbs. It's very calming. And we find harsh lighting to be like a biological assault.
It is, yeah. It's interesting how quickly that happens, where you
Mhm.
just are literally just like, oh. I can't. Yeah, my husband's not quite as great about, I mean, I tell him we're doing this and he says, "Okay, we're doing,"
Right.
but he's still like, "Wait, why are we making it like a cave at night?" He's like, "Do we turn into my parents where, we're
Right.
going to bed at 5:30 PM and all the lights are down?" But I'm
Yeah.
always like turning the lights on. I have my red light bulbs and incandescent bulbs, and I mean,
Yeah.
and the blue blockers, it's not that big of a deal. It's
It's not
you
hard.
you
It's
get
not
used to
hard.
it.
Right.
Now, people who wear, I get this question too a lot, people who wear contacts, they can do it, but if you wear glasses,
Hmm.
then you've gotta pay more attention to getting outside without the glasses, is what I tell
Right.
people, and then being more protective of the lighting inside, like
Hmm.
getting next to an open window or, at night after sunset, just being more protective of your indoor light.
Yes. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, the kids, I've sort of brought along an entire group of boys, my kids' friends. They all have blue blockers. I give them out. I buy boxes of them and I give them out to every kid that comes in this house and say, just try them, just see how you feel. Typically, when we go up to Maine in the summer and we take a whole carload of boys, and I take an entire basket full of blue blockers and just leave them out on the counter. And inevitably, as the week goes on, more and more kids start wearing them, and they feel different. They feel different, and so
Yeah.
the kids come in and they open the refrigerator, and the refrigerator is lit up with red light, and they think it's kind of cool, but ultimately, a group of teenage boys stood in my kitchen a few months ago, and said to me, "You've been right about everything."
Kelly, that's heaven. I'm
Right?
so jealous. Like, I
Right?
want that. I love just a kitchen full of boys,
Right.
or kids in general. I just love a house full of kids. Anyway,
Hmm.
and for them to actually embrace, like, you were right about these things. Yee!
Yes.
That's
And many of them have changed the light bulbs in their rooms to red bulbs, and they wear blue blocking glasses, and they send me, texts about different things. So, to be able to reach the younger kids and empower them to want to make the changes. Amazingly enough, my son Logan, his best friend Morgan has struggled his entire life with anxiety issues. He did have like a nervous tick kind of thing.
yeah.
Wonderful parents who sought out the best medical care that they could. They were taking him to the best doctors in Boston. They were getting him the best care that they could. And of course, in allopathic medicine, the answer was just to keep layering on more and more
Medication.
medications.
Mhm.
And he was really struggling. He had quit high school. His circadian rhythm was a complete mess. He
Yes.
was up all night on tech and slept all day, couldn't function, didn't have his license, didn't have a job, hadn't graduated high school. And he came over to the house one day, and I could physically see that he was not well. And I called his mother and I said, "Listen, we've been friends long enough. Our boys are like brothers. I feel like I can say this. I'm really concerned. I'm really concerned for him. I can physically see what's happening to him." And she said, "Kelly, I don't know what to do. I feel like I've done everything. We've seen the best doctors, and this is where we're at." And then he spoke to my son Logan, and he actually said to Logan, "Can your mom help me?" And so I, spoke more deeply with his mother about some ideas. I got him set up with a red light panel,
Mhm.
started getting him some light, uh, and also connected him with Francisco, Francisco
Oh,
Gutierrez.
oh, yeah, yeah.
Yeah, so Francisco is about 30 minutes from me.
Oh, good.
Yeah, so got him set up with Francisco, who was able to help guide him off of medications. I mean, that has to be medically supervised. So
Right.
Francisco was able to guide him off the medications. I was able to guide him in the more of the lifestyle choices. And it's amazing.
Yeah.
He is a poster child for quantum living.
Oh,
You know,
I love it.
it's absolutely amazing. I actually think I spoke to him about it, and I think that I may interview him for the Quantum Biology Collective.
I was like, we got to get him on. Let's interview this kiddo. Yeah.
He is thriving, absolutely thriving. He went through a program at the high school, and they actually gave him an award because they said he is the epitome of this program and getting these kids to graduate. He graduated high school. He has a full-time job. He has his driver's license. He is off all medications. He is thriving. He is a young, happy, vibrant young man
I
that has
love
been,
it.
he's been saved a lifetime of suffering, a
Yeah.
lifetime.
Yes. That has
And
to feel so good.
it does, and and he tells a lot of kids about red light and
Yeah.
how much it's helped him. So I mean, I like to work directly with people specifically on using the red light, and it I'm never surprised, but I'm always just so happy at
Yeah.
everyone experiences tremendous benefit from it.
From a red light panel. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I was actually surprised because I was using outdoor light. I was
Hmm.
outside a lot, but when I got the red panel and I was specifically using it just to try and help my eyesight, just to see
Hmm.
that, and I couldn't believe my energy. I could not believe how much better I felt. I already felt good.
Right.
I didn't know that it could get that much better from this red light panel.
Yeah.
I was really I'm a big fan of red
Yeah.
light therapy. I'm a huge fan of, getting outdoors too and
Hmm.
earthing and all of the things. So,
Right.
yeah. Did,
Yeah.
did did this kiddo change his diet too, or is he just was it mostly circadian rhythms and light and
It was mostly correcting,
okay.
correcting circadian rhythm. He's a young man,
Yeah.
so of course he'll have pizza and
But that's the point. I want to tell people
right.
like your food matters less when you get all
Yeah,
this other stuff right.
matters a lot less.
Yeah,
A
and
lot
I know
less.
Jack says that too. So,
Hmm. Yeah.
yeah, I think
Yeah.
I mean, we would agree that it still matters and it makes a big difference for people, but if you get everything else in the quantum health, if you get all these quantum health strategies in place,
Hmm.
then you can have a thriving life and eat
Yes.
pretty I don't know, pretty normal
Yeah.
what you would
Yeah.
eat.
I mean, you can indulge at at times. With food, it should never be a free for all, certainly. But you should be able to indulge when you want. So I mean, it's yeah. To see some of the kids
Yeah.
and to see how well they've done. My boys very willingly will go in and use the red light panels because they've experienced the benefit. They
Yeah.
they know that it works. They understand the science. They know that it works. Interestingly enough, I'm actually about to embark on another little N of one or experiment with my younger son. So
Uh-huh.
my older son, when he was prepping for the SATs, I said to him, "Give me 1 month. We're going to do something. Give me a month." And he said, "Sure." And I said, "Every day you'll eat salmon," which for him was not a hardship.
Uh-huh.
Got to be expensive, but it wasn't a hardship. So every day I had him eat salmon. I had him grounding with me every day. Morning sunlight, got him off. I said, no tech for a month, no video games, really limit your tech for a month. And you absolutely have to be very diligent about your nighttime light environment, which he was always really good. So these were very
Right.
minor tweaks
Right.
to what was already in place. And he had already taken the SATs a few times, and during this month he did no SAT prep. So this had nothing to do with that it had to do with tightening up the quantum principles. And he jumped 2 full merit scholarship levels.
Yeah. So
Which,
he's sold now, right? This is solid.
Yeah.
If he ever needs to tweak, he knows what to tweak. That's amazing.
Right. So,
yeah,
to put a price tag on that, and I said this to Sarah when I spoke to her, I mean, you're talking about return on investment about $100,000.
Right. Right. I mean, that's incredible. The fact that your boys will do that and they trust you, I love that. I think that is just really important. And I think if people are listening, they're like, what's the deal with salmon? They're like, DHA, people.
Right.
Get that DHA.
I think they trust me because of the environment that we live in. They both have magneticos on their beds. We made the investment as a family that we were all getting magneticos. So they have magneticos on their bed.
Yep.
The light environment in the house, the turning off of Wi-Fi, all of that allows them to think better.
Yeah.
Allows them to be healthier, allows them to think better. So this isn't, they're more accepting of it because they feel good and they're able to think clearly and they're able to think critically and they're not sick and they have good dopamine. So it's not a hardship. It's not a challenge. When you start to clear out the noise, then it's much easier for them to understand. And they see a lot of the kids around them are sick. They can actually see it. So, my boys have said that often, that, the kids at school, they're pale, they're gray, they're sick.
Yeah.
And my boys are tan. I mean, it's funny in my house. There's on days that we're home, there's like a mass exodus every day at noon. Everyone is outside with their shirts off.
Yeah.
Barefoot. That's just how we roll.
I love it. Nice. In Massachusetts, you got tan kiddos in Massachusetts. That's amazing.
Yeah.
Brilliant. I love it. Is there anything else that we didn't touch on that really nourishes your body, mind, soul?
Sunlight. My entire life, I told everyone I'm solar powered. I need to be in the sun. That's what makes me happy. And that is the truth. And then finding Jack and finding his work gave me confirmation that what I always intuitively knew, even as a kid, what I knew is true. And so, I love that. And I adore Jack. And I'm just so thankful for his work and for his diligence and not letting go of this, like a dog with a bone, not letting go of this and really championing this message for all of us, and just continuing to fight against the narrative and to keep challenging us to think and to grow as people. I think he is an extraordinary human, and I'm thankful to have his work.
Right. His guidance that way. Yeah. Well, hopefully one day we'll get him on the show and people but you can find him. I think he's out there. He's putting it out so that people can find the information. And I appreciate that too.
The most recent podcast is it's insane. It's absolutely insane. And if you're not a member, like his monthly Q&As are epic. Yeah,
I've heard.
they're epic. And they're fun. And the most amazing thing about Jack is the people that he brings together and the relationships that are formed. I mean, I met people in Destin when I went to that event that have become good friends and good confidants, and people that I kind of consider family, that would do anything for me. And I love that. And same thing on this trip. You know, I came away from it feeling part of a family.
Yes.
So, you know,
And
there's
the quantum health family is quite amazing. I mean, really, truly.
the generosity.
Yes, truly. And
The,
just brilliant people, but warm, wonderful, unconditional love type people. That's so,
Mhm.
well, I'll go next time. You just gotta book me before it gets full. I'll go. I'm in Florida. I can easily go to Destin. So,
Right? Yeah.
yeah.
It's funny because I think that, you know, there should be, Florida's so easy. There should be,
Yeah.
you know, someone needs to sort of take the reins and
Pull us all to
or
Florida. Organize
right,
it.
or organize. Actually, I'll be there. I'll be there in June. So I'll be in Siesta Key, Sarasota.
Oh,
So
that's 40 minutes from me.
yeah.
So
So we may
we
be
need to
able
connect.
to
Yeah.
meet
That
up when I'm down there.
That would be wonderful. I would love that.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Do
Well,
some grounding.
yes, of course. Yeah. See some sun at some, whether we sunrise or whatever, we'll see some sun together and
Right.
do some earthing. Well,
Mhm.
Kelly, thank you so much for taking the time to talk
Thank
with
you.
me. I've loved it. I love getting to know you more and hear about the trip and how quantum health has changed you and your whole family and your family's friends and on and on and on. Love it.
Yeah. Yeah. It's a movement. It's a movement that we all
Yeah.
bring forward, you know, pay it forward to
Yeah.
everyone.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, thank you.
Thank you. Great to meet you, and we'll meet in person.
Oh, I know we will.